let's look at the some of the things that were suggested at the floor of the chambers of the National Conference. One of it is that there should be closure of borders to Cameroon, that's a neighboring nation to Nigeria, Cameroon, Niger, and Chad. And some of the delegates are also saying deploy technology, surveillance to monitor insurgents' activities. These are one of these suggestions. And also they're saying increase the number of personnel. These are just immediate suggestions. I guess these suggestions came out of the emotions of the moment. Do you think that some of these suggestions really will hold water based on the situation we have at hand?
Well, I know that the issue of closure of borders really goes neither here nor there, because there's really no border, like I said, which is why most of those people call Malam in Nigeria here, those who carry wood, who carry water, are not even Nigerians. But the moment they settle and they learn to speak Hausa, they claim Hausa. So just forget closure of border because there is no border. You know. But the other two, yes.
If you say there is no border, I mean, we've always talked about the fact that we have porous borders. I mean, of course, on the map of Africa, we of course have those tiny lines that demarcate Nigeria and differentiate Nigeria's region from other regions of the continent. So when you say there is no border, some people are lost as to what you're talking about.
Well, you know, let me quote Lamida Adamawa. In his submission said, God forbid, but if something goes wrong, I'll just cross over to Cameroon, where the larger part of my kingdom is. In other words, he is stating that Adamawa kingdom, of which is the head, stretches from Adamawa state to Adamawa province in Cameroon. And there is really no border. If you get a place like Mubi, most of the time you get Cameroon TV, Cameroon radio. They use the currencies of Nigeria and Cameroon interchangeably. If you now continue up to Borno, which has a very large border, on paper, very large border, because in practice, the people don't understand what they're talking about. Which is why Boko Haram is able to move freely up and down. And that's why some people are saying, without the help of Cameroon, you cannot stop Boko Haram. Now, if you move towards Chad, you have Lake Chad that is there. Then you have move up a little to the left, you still see Niger. In Lagos, if you want to know who is from Niger, ask him, where are you from? You say he's from Madija, in Kano State. That means he's from Niger. All he does is just cross over. If you ask somebody, I'm from Borno, where? He's from Chad. Most Nigerians do not do menial work. They don't do security, they don't do all these other small things. But here, those from outside, Chad, Niger, northern Cameroon, they are all here doing Okada work, doing water carrier, doing all kinds of things.
I mean, in essence, we've seen a mixture of it's so easy to we've seen
to fit in.
Exactly, but isn't this a major problem?
It is. It is. Even these people I'm talking of are the first to get a national ID.
Really?
Yes. So once they come in, they blend. Once they blend, they're in. So when you're talking of border, don't waste your time. If you're talking of technology, which will help detect them, well, it depends on your own ability to respond. There is CCTV showing there is a bomber about to strike. How would you go there? We must have people stationed nearby. And, you know, let me take this opportunity to say this. When you are fighting a terrorist, in 10 cases, you succeed in 9 in stopping them. That one time you fail, it becomes news that terrorists have won. The terrorists may be trying in 10 cases and they keep failing, but that one they succeed makes all the news. That's what has been going on. Nobody knows how far the Nigerian security system has been able to stop them in other cases, but nobody wants to know. All we know now is that they have failed. Boko Haram is in charge in some areas. And then you find some, let me call them politicians, with very low level ability, whose only sight is centered on that prize, which is called presidency, talking rubbish. Some pretend there is no Boko Haram, that it is the imagination of the president. I wonder when Jonathan became president. Others will come up and say, oh, it is this, it is that. Believe you me, these are people who have been ready to sacrifice their mothers for the sake of power. And when they now try to incite the people of Nigeria, what do they get? Riots, killings, they stay aloof.
You see, I mean, it's for the curious mind, one will wonder that when the issue of Boko Haram came up, and literally the word Boko Haram, they say, is an Hausa word which means Western education is sacrilege. And we've seen some of the attacks. At times, one will be confused as to what exactly does these people want, because sometimes you see them attack schools, which seems to be in line with the philosophy of Western education is sacrilege. Again, you see them do some religious attack, religious places and all of that. What exactly do you think is a major problem when we talk about Boko Haram?
Well, Boko Haram, that's what we call it in Nigeria, where I think at the world level they call them Al-Qaeda. You have them in Afghanistan, you have them in Pakistan, you have them in Sudan, you have them in Iraq. In all these places that attack schools, especially girls' schools, officially in some countries, like the Swat Valley in Pakistan, girls' schools are closed. They can't go to school. The moment a girl gets to the age of 12 or 13, she's married off. And if you watch how Boko Haram operates here, when they get to girls' school, all they do is carry away wives, potential wives. They do that in all the places where they're able to get a portion of land they'll call their own. In other words, they dictate what happens. Now, when they go to the boys' schools, they kill them. Because these ones are educated people are dangerous.
That's their belief.
That's their belief.
And we see this trend actually take place, because in Bauchi, we saw an attack on a school in Bauchi, and a girl, about a 5-year-old girl, has been killed. That's another situation. We saw what happened also in Buniyadi. We saw what has happened also in Borno State, where about 200 school girls have been in Chibok,
which the state government wants to turn into a political matter instead of a security matter bordering on the community. You are busy competing with Mr. President, who has more interest. It doesn't make sense. This thing concerns you and I. Some of us grew up knowing that you could put your child in a Chuku bus. The bus would take the person to Prt2 school. The principal will receive them. When they close, they will also come back the same way. That's what we have always known. As of today, nobody will put his or her daughter into a bus going to Borno to go to school. Adamawa to go to school. Yobe and Bauchi. It doesn't make sense at all. So when a governor pretends like the ostrich, I see no evil, I hear no evil, therefore evil does not exist, you wonder how he has been ruling. All he wants is a chance to contest the presidency. Why don't you show us your own work? As the chief executive of the state, this is what I have done. And believe you me, it is not the military that will stop Boko Haram. It is the native intelligence of the people of the area. That's why I was happy when the hunters were involved in that Chibok forest. If you have hunters, they know the terrain. Don't expect a soldier from Enugu, from Oshobo, or from even Sokoto to go to Borno to go and get them in that forest. It's not possible.
Interesting. Just last year, Boko Haram was designated by the United States as a terrorist group. And in fact, a bounty of about $7 million or so was placed on the leader of the group. At some point, the killings of Boko Haram was rated perhaps second in most places that terrorist attacks are taking place in 2013. And one will ask, does the Boko Haram insurgency look like an international matter, and does it actually need a fight of international dimension?
No, it is. One thing you must not forget is that there was once a country ruled by Muammar Gaddafi. The country is still there. It's a country in name only. It's called Libya. It's a big desert. Most of the weapons of Muammar Gaddafi ended up in Nigeria. That's what they're using, and they're very, very sophisticated. They control almost the entire desert up to Algeria, up to Chad. If you watch the way they're threatening all these countries, of course, Nigeria is the biggest prize. Wherever they find a receptive local population, this is where they blend in. And that has been the problem in that northeast zone. If you have people, let me give you a good example. Sometime last year, or a year and a half, the same people went to Mubi and killed so many Igbo traders, all from one community, others, in Anambra State. And I remember what the governor was busy saying. No, there is a quarrel between them. The same governor today is telling you the phantom Boko Haram. And people are being killed. You remember Reverend Martin Muller, what he said about the Second World War? He said, when they came for my neighbor, who is a prostitute, it doesn't concern me, I won't bother. They came for the gay, he said, no problem. They came for the Jews, he said, thank God I'm not a Jew. But when they came for the Catholics, he said, those people. But when they came for me, there was nobody to witness what was happening to me. This is what we're seeing in that notice, insincerity.
But with this situation that we have, a few comments are coming in from Twitter and all of that. People are saying that the confab, does it really have the prerogative to be able to do all of this? Can it actually do that which the field executive should be doing?
Well, if the person is asking if the delegates have a magic wand, the answer is no. Those in the field are the field officers, but those of us in the background are able to now, in a cool atmosphere, examine what has been happening, what has been done, and where do you think we're going.
Can Nigerians actually look forward to the delegates to say these people could be the savior in providing solution?
No, I think that would be wrong to say this will could be the...
In the sense that framing up...
We are going to frame up our suggestions in the form of free solutions and hand over to Mr. President. The issue of insecurity is certainly there. And one of the things we did in the confab is to ask people to send in their memoranda on anything. Like this man who is sending this one. You can easily send and ask, how can we still treat it? But there is no way we'll fold our arms and then wait for only those in the field to go ahead and then defeat Boko Haram. But let me also tell you this. Boko Haram now goes after the soft targets. They don't go to fight people who are armed like themselves. As you and I are moving, somebody come and throw a bomb. Then he shouts, God is great, God is great. That is no target. They do that, that's not a good target. They do that in Pakistan, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and in Sudan. Soft targets, and that makes the news. They are not looking for pitched battle. If you remember when Americans went after the people in Somalia, those terrorists in Somalia, they quickly defeated them. The same thing in Iraq, but that wasn't the end of the war. Thereafter, those who carry bombs, pretending to be ordinary civilians, took over. So they go after the soft targets. Like when you go to an isolated school, 200 kilometers from the nearest town, what do you see? Children sleeping, one lone soldier, one lone policeman who is sleeping. It's an easy target. You get to the bus stop, you see people getting there. It's an easy target.
From your point of view, what do you think is a ready solution that we should be looking at to fight this?
Intelligence. What has happened is we have a failure of intelligence, national security intelligence. It has failed. Because it has failed, Boko Haram now tapped into that failure to move freely. Let me tell you, Leadership newspaper, they supply us free. A week before this had happened, Leadership had on its headline, Abuja under threat of attack. And they brought out pictures showing that the armed men had gone around the nearby states and attacked them one by one, and they camped somewhere. Our intelligence services failed to hang on to that. Some years, I think 2 years ago, there was a senator from Borno who had a problem with SSS. He was having a public exchange of words with the former governor. And I remember the former governor accusing him of carrying some young men into the deserts for training, for further education, that nobody has seen them. they did not lean on that to probe further. So if the intelligence services are really active, they'll work.
Thank you so much, Barrister Goddy Uwazurike, for giving us your thoughts on this issue. And we will be looking at the delegates and what comes out of the committee, especially the one on the issue of security and what they come out with at the end of the day. Well, thank you so much, Barrister Goddy Uwazurike. We take a short break, and when we turn into another issue entirely. And a former governorship candidate in Ondo State will be joining me on set. I'll be talking about issues emanating from the Ilaje Eseodo constituency election. Join me right after now.